with me today is a person that has been well received among the youth in our district. A person who came to our leadership training program with Interact and received great reviews. And then we discover what he is resonating with the young people applies to all people. Our guest today is Colonel Brian Searcy, who is with us to talk about true leadership. Brian, thank you for being with us.
Bill, thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Well, tell me, how does a guy get to be an expert in this area? Because you obviously got something special going on, but tell me about your background and how do you make this a full-time business?
Well, I have a lot of experience. I'm not sure we're ever really an expert, especially when you're talking about leadership. Leadership is an ongoing process. It's an ongoing practice. You're constantly learning. But you do develop quite a bit of experience, which in certain areas may lead to expertise. But the struggle is to transition leadership into actually leading and doing the verb. So I entered the Air Force in 1987 and over my 23-year career had an opportunity to lead at the squadron, the group, and the wing level. Along that way, I had great mentors that showed me and taught me how to lead. So it's not just reading books, it's not going to classes, it's not attending seminars, and then, thinking you know about leadership just because you've read a bunch of stuff. It's actually then taking it and putting it into practice. And like I said, I like to call it transitioning that leadership philosophy into the verb, which is actually leading and practicing that art of leadership.
How would you advise that person who is now in a leadership role, but they don't necessarily know the traditions or the history or the politics that are involved, but they want to be an effective leader?
It's kind of like the experience that we have when people talk about millennials and Generation Z, right? That they don't have necessarily the skills that we think that they should have because it's not the same as it was when we were 22, 25, 27 years old. But I believe that the Generation Z and the millennials that are out there today are some of the smartest people we've ever had in our country. Let's work with them the way that they need to work, and if they're missing some of the skills that they haven't adapted that we may have, let's educate them on that. But let's not put a label on them. Let's work with them to get them the necessary skills so that we can all be on the same page moving forward.
And some people say it's a servant leadership role. How does that fit in to the way you teach leadership?
No, it absolutely is a servant leadership role, and I agree with that 100%. The nice thing, if you execute the 2 up, 2 down rule, that means the lowest person in an organization should have pretty much the same information that I started out telling. Now, if you've ever been around a campfire and you start telling a story and it changes by the time you get around, that's going to happen. But if you do a good job with that communication down, then everybody in the organization really should understand. But to your point, and again, this was something that was, mentored to me, I didn't come up with this myself, is you should always do leadership by moving around, by walking around. So I would pick a day during a week and I would go walk the squadrons and I'd talk to the young airmen, I'd talk to the young NCOs, and I'd ask them questions about how they're doing, what's going on in the squadron, do they know what's going on in the wing, in the group, in the squadron, and I was really able to find out from those conversations if their leadership was actually following the rules, which then allowed me to potentially make some changes in how I was mentoring. Because that's one of the key things that's important as a leader as well, is that you have to understand that you're going to have, if you have 5 or 6 people that are working for you in your district, all 5 or 6 of those people are going to be totally different. So one management style, or one leadership style may not work for all of them. You may have somebody that's a little bit of an introvert, so you're going to talk to them a little bit differently than you would to somebody that is an extrovert. You have to pay attention to that as well, know what their personalities are like, and then use all the different tools in your toolbox as a leader to work with them to help them grow.
I think I'm hearing you say there's no one style of management that we should all be following. We should be following our own style of management, and even then, that style of management may need to be modified based on the people that we're working with and mentoring, because we have to respond to where they're coming from as well.
Absolutely.
So how do you ever teach all this?
Well, so I teach my leadership tenets, but then when I talk to people that work for me, as we're doing this mentorship process, I have them go through that same process I told you about. If I were to go in today to a leader of an organization, I'd ask them to write out their leadership philosophy. What do they think is important to them? So I would do the same thing with the people that work for me, And oftentimes, I was the first person that they ever worked for that actually had them do that. So that's a big part of the process. Now they're starting to establish their own philosophy. And what you'll see is there is a lot of commonality. There's some great tenets out there that have commonality across the spectrum. You know, treat other people the way that you would want to be treated. There's a lot of things that are common, but then we all, because we have different personalities, we have different perspectives, different experiences, we still have to choose what works for us and then how to turn that into actual leading.
I know that Rotary International talks all the time about how we need to bring in that next generation. We have to appeal to them somehow, but it's important to hear them and know that there may be some key differences. And as a leader, being able to communicate with different types of people, I think, is imperative. How do you do that? How do you learn how to communicate to the greatest generation, the baby boomers, the millennials, generation X's and Y's and whatnot?
Well, there's a couple things. So the first one goes back to one of the things I already mentioned, is that you have to be able to let them know that just because you have all this experience doesn't mean you have all the answers, and that you're open to hear what they have to say. Like I said, I would always, as a leader, tell on my people, don't ever let me tell you that we're not going to do something because it didn't work before. So they have great ideas. We need to allow those ideas to be brought in. It's always great to read, but it's also great to pay attention to other leaders, learn from other leaders, and understand that even if you were the past leader, when I left the wing, I could come back and look, and they may not be doing it the way I was doing it, but that's okay. They are now leading the way that they need to lead, but that doesn't mean that I don't necessarily have great advice to pass on. So they need to be willing to hear it, but we as people that have been there and done that, not fully hands off, but we have to understand that we're not in charge anymore. And you know, there's a lot of ways to do the same thing. Just because it's not being done the way we would want it, it doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Absolutely. If we're getting the effective results, you got to look to those results, even if it's done in a different way.
Absolutely.
I love it. Thank you so much for being with us today. And thank y'all for being with us today.